Hello and welcome. It is All for United. We are back, although I am sure that currently all three of us are probably sitting there going, well, we maybe could have not done this evening. But there we are. We are back and we've still got the usual panel. We do have just below us the legend, the icon, the man that is the OG, Mr. Stu Willie. How are you doing down there, sir?
I am absolutely okay today, actually. Yeah, I'm not bad at all. Could have been worse, but yeah. Once we get into it, I'm sure you'll you'll raise your eyebrows at some of my thoughts. But yeah, I'm all right. Thank you.
The problem with me having no hair and Dan having no hair is that you will indeed see if our eyebrows do raise. There's no way of just merging those in with our fringes. So
Yes, that is true.
we'll see how that goes. But I mentioned him by name. Here he is, Danny B. Currently over on my left-hand side. It's the wrong Dan. The other Dan is on his way. He's just popping back from work. So we are expecting him through the door as soon as he can. He'll jump immediately on. But for now, we've got the other Dan, Danny B, just sat over there. How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah, not bad. Same as Stu, really. It was to be expected today, but no, I'm okay.
Be expected. Okay, well, Boxers kicked us off already with an oh dear, and then T with an evening, not good, but evening to all. Box then takes it a step further by asking who's worse, the men's team or the women's team. I kind of feel like I want to say the women's today.
Fair question.
Should be beating West Ham, whereas we probably weren't expecting to beat City. So on this occasion, I would be going for that. And would you believe it? Within seconds, I mean, I don't know how he's managed to get there. He's obviously got in the TARDIS rather than his car because he only texted me 5 minutes ago. But he's managed to get in, possibly with a police escort. I was assuming he was going to throw himself back in, but I'm going to throw him in now. We'll see what happens. There he is. It is indeed my right-hand man on my left-hand side, Mr. Danfield. How are you, sir?
I was doing the speed limit.
That is the right answer.
Yeah, I'm good.
So well done.
Just it's going to be. I think it's going to be a long show, to be honest.
You think it's going to be a long show? It won't
I
be,
do. I can't. If anybody could put some positives in the side for me in the comment section, that'd be fantastic. Because I'm failing to see many.
Well, I can kick you straight off with one because we mentioned it on the preview last night. There was the possibility of a record that dates back 50 years whereby Man City have not managed to keep a clean sheet in both games, home and away, since 73-74. And of course, Marcus Rashford's 8th minute wonder goal has ensured that record stays intact. Obviously, there's a pretty good record that has dropped, and that record being the 143 game streak all the way back to 2014, where we have not lost a game, which we've been leading at half time. But you can't have everything, or at least that's what my mum used to say. So, well, here we go again. We might as well dive ourselves into it. Amrabat played Stu for United in the middle of the week against Forest. What did you reckon of the decision to bring in Victor Lindelof? I know that we've spoken a lot with you and the other two as well with regards to the formations and things that Ten Hag could have done differently. Do you think there was anything else we could have done? What do you think Amrabat maybe should have been given the nod? Were you happy with it being Lindelof? Because it was always going to be a target area, wasn't it?
Yeah, so right, look, Lindelof being at left back just doesn't work. We all know that. He's a right back. I'm not quite sure the reasoning behind putting Lindelof at left back and Dalot at right back, etc. Dalot has played left back on occasion this season. The bulk of for AC Milan last season, so he knows how to play left back. There's the real funny thing about the whole game. Okay, the real funny thing about the whole game is that Ten Hag was pretty astute, actually. The way that he particularly flummoxed the machine and I use that in inverted commas, that is Guardiola was absolutely superb to watch. Watching the fraud, the bald fraud, hop up and down in his technical area, complaining to his coaches, complaining to the fourth official. They can't do that. They've got to play the way that I want them to play. What's all this fucking kicking it out from the goalkeeper's hands anymore? It was genius. And because what a lot of people failed to see about it is that they were pushing and pushing and pushing us. And that enabled Bruno to get on the wrong side, the blind side of their back four on 2 or 3 occasions, which ultimately led to the first goal. Because what they do, and Box is right, by the way, we wasted counter-attacks. Yeah, I'll mention that. But that part of the game was phenomenal, and Guardiola couldn't get to grips with it. He's going ape shit on the touchline. What the fucking hell's going on here? And he couldn't work it out. He couldn't work out something so simple. This is what winds me up about football, you see. Everybody's talking about how Guardiola's changed the game, how this has happened. Now, it's been good. As it bollocks, George Best was playing as a false 9 in the 70s. The way that he would take the ball from deep and dribble or stay up top and take it and dribble. He's been playing the kind of Messi-esque role for years. It was never any different. We've been playing out the back from years. What actually was really interesting was that when City had the ball and they were chasing around like 8-year-olds, because that's how they press. They press like 8-year-olds or sheep. They follow each other around and they just keep running and running and running. Foden in particular just runs from player to player to player to player to player. If you ever watch him, that's what he does. And our biggest issue in the first half alone was our distribution from the fullbacks and 1 or 2 of the centre halves at times clearing the ball. We weren't clearing the ball with any accuracy, and we weren't clearing the ball with any real vision. So what happens was the ball was coming back. But if you noticed during the first half in particular, our short game between Casemiro, Mino, Bruno, Garnacho, and Rashford on occasions was pretty sharp. Our one-touch passing was very, very good, and that enabled us to get in and getting around the likes of Kyle Walker, Diaz, who weren't really sure how to cope with this. Same with Rodri, same with De Bruyne. So as much as City had all the play in the first half in terms of their pressing, what did they actually do? They didn't do a great deal, apart from, and I'm sure Dan, Top Dan, not Lower Dan, Top Dan, is going to have an absolute field day of the Haaland miss, which quite frankly, all he had to do was that, and he would have scored. I mean, what the fuck was he doing trying to volley it home? But anyway, that's beyond the point. That was their one clear-cut opportunity. Couple everything, by the way, with Onana's brilliance in the first half, the way that he controlled the play at the back, the way that he didn't just, as I said before, just try and play out from the back. He made use of the football, which we haven't seen since Peter Schmeichel days, really, with his long throw. So young Dan Field, there is a little bit to actually hang your coat on to this game. There really is. And then all of a sudden, the light switch flips. It's switched off. And we go back to type in the second half. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Well, why are we dicking about with the ball at the back? Why aren't we making use of what worked in the first half? Whether Guardiola figured it out or not is an absolute irrelevance. All that would have happened is that City wouldn't have pressed us so deep, i.e. so high. That would have given us more time to control the play better if we carried on doing what we were doing, because City would have had to have done something about it. So there's no point pressing when Onana's going to go long with it. They would have dropped back maybe 10 yards. Foden wouldn't have been in Dalot and Dalot's face all the time. Same with Doku, wouldn't have been in Dalot's face all the time. They'd have had to have come back. And that would have enabled us to kind of walk the ball out and have a bit more control. What was massively interesting in the first half, and I'll be interested in your takes on this, is De Bruyne was didn't know what to do with the ball. because we got this wall, and we shuffled wonderfully from side to side. We didn't press, we shuffled. So we kind of hybrid pressed the play. So we shuffled across from left to right, which was absolutely brilliant for us. And that gave Rodri a problem as well, because Rodri didn't have his main influence in the game that he would normally do on the first half. I think their best player was probably John Stones, in my opinion, if you take Foden out of the equation. The only criticism I got, really, is A, we were shattered. I mean, Bruno was single pressing second half, and he was absolutely knackered. He really was shattered. And B, as the lads have said in the chat, we didn't take our chances. There's 2 or 3 opportunities which we should have done better with. I'm not saying it would have been a different result, but it would have made City do something. And I know you're going to talk about Rashford, so I'll just quickly talk about his two, our two kind of plays, so to speak, in the second half. And that was the Garnacho one, which I thought was a brilliant tackle from Ederson, by the way. And I thought at first what Garnacho could do was kind of arch his way into Ederson to try and create a collision to maybe go for a penalty, but he couldn't. I think Ederson got there a good split second before him. And B, the Rashford chase, so to speak, from our good old friend Carl Walker. You've got to cut across the defender there. You can see what's happening. You can hear him coming. And then as you cut across him, slow down completely. And as you slow down, Walker's just going to fucking hit you. And so off he goes. And we get a free kick. Because Rashford's legs are gone at that point. So he's never going to out-sprint him. So you've got to be a little bit clever in these situations. And so I was mightily pissed off as soon as the final whistle went. I was jabbering her on. I was talking to devils. I was giving it a fucking big one. And then I stopped to think about the game. I stopped to look at the game, and I stopped to look at it, as I always do, through my own eyes on how football should be played. And we got one over. We lost the game, yeah. But he got one over Guardiola, because there's no way Guardiola was expecting, Route 1 football, if that's what you want to call it now, in the first half. And that was the problem. And that's why we undid them and unpicked them in the first half. And if we carried on that, I think we would have had better control of the game.
Very interesting indeed. Twilumber's in, and he's already pushed one of my buttons. He does have that ability every once in a while. I don't know if this is at me or not. I've got 2 umbrages to take. You thought you won with the rash. I mean, sure, we're all United fans here, with the exception of Simon Davis. So surely that would have been a we thought. And secondly, like, we never thought anyone won anything after 8 minutes on the clock.
I told you I had a different vision to it, didn't I?
Well, it was nice. And then this comes up. He looks tired. They're talking about Garnacho. And I don't know, maybe I'm just in a mood. I don't know. But I kind of sit here and I think to myself, why is it that when we've got players that we like, because everybody likes Garnacho, nobody's having a go at him. Why is it when, maybe they have a lower down performance, they're just tired, but when it's Rashford, there's no effort? It's very interesting how we can find excuses, because he loves that word, for players that we like, but the ones maybe that we don't, we're going to sit there and just immediately throw the opposite out. If only we had Showman's brains up front, to be fair. I think Showman's brains would have had more opportunities on goal than we had. And they haven't got any feet, but we'll see. Arthur, I'm assuming here is a City fan, so welcome to you.
Sunday morning league team.
That's how we shall see. Dan, I'm going to throw a couple of things at you, because it's on the face of it, this is a poor result. On the face of it. But we're going to throw the stats out there, because we know how Stu hates them, but we know how Danny Field loves them. Because the stats are an interesting story. 74% possession for City, 26% for United. And I think we all knew there was going to be a slight disparity in the possession stats. 27 shots from City, 3 from us. Only 1 on target from us, and that came from 25 yards out and 1 in the back of the net. 8 on target for City. But then, for me, 792 passes as well, by the way. We had 288. So we've been played off the park in terms of possession and that respect. But I actually agree with what Stu was saying. This idea of having that low defensive block is what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did against him. He made it really difficult really difficult. And Dan's shaking his head at me, but that was what he did.
No,
He tried
I'm nodding. I was nodding. I was
No, you
agreeing.
are the other Dan.
Oh,
Dan.
sorry, I was
Grumpy
nodding.
Dan. He was shaking his head. But that was the way in which Ollie tried to play. And we didn't really have any clear-cut opportunities. We only had the 2 corners. We were only caught offside once. But defensively, at least, when you look at it that way, 11 blocks, 12 tackles won, 10 aerial duels won, 5 saves, which were all better than City statistics. As much as I started the show with, was it the right decision to put Victor Lindelof at left back? Defensively, we've not done as bad as I think pretty much all of us thought we might have done going into the game. Would you agree? Dan B, not Dan Field.
Oh, me.
We'll get to him. We'll get to Field in a second. He's going to have something to say. Like you said, he's going to have a field day. I love that pun from Stu earlier.
No, I think we've done okay. I mean, I talked about it before the game, and I just kind of said, as long as we defend well, we fight for every ball. You know, what should be a given, really. You know, in terms of professional footballers, but we've seen that many of them down tools and kind of give up in games. So I was just going into it, as long as they perform, they give their best. That's all you can ask, you know. And I thought defensively, especially in the first half, I thought Varane was pretty faultless. Evans was faultless. Anana first half. I thought, like, you know, there was a lot of promising signs, and like Stu said, there was a couple of times where we had a breakaway and Rashford didn't take the ball with him on one. I think there was one where did Garnacho play the wrong pass. There was a couple of them where we just didn't quite play the right ball. But as far as I'm concerned, I thought we approached the game right, and I did tweet it in the middle of the game saying it reminded me a bit of an Ollie game where we were kind of playing the low block and we were catching them on the break. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I think you have to accept that City are better than us all over the park. So we have to adapt to how we play to suit that game. And I quite like that by Ten Hag today. I still worry about the general style of play and stuff, but I think he probably got it as right as he could have done really today, in terms of with the personnel that we had. You know, Amrabat at left back or Lindelof at left back. I don't think either of them really are going to set the world on fire in that position. So I don't think it would have made a great deal of difference who played there. But for me, it was just a case of the long ball, hoofing it up. I didn't have a problem with that, because you try playing out from the back like we did in the second half, and you're just inviting waves and waves of pressure. But I think first half an hour especially, there was a lot of promising signs, and I was thinking to myself, you know, maybe we've got, you know, a chance here. And obviously we got the goal early on, which was such a good goal. And, you know, for Rashford to do that on the back of the interview the other day as well, all the credit in the world to him, honestly, because I kind of thought he's done that interview, he's set himself up. If he doesn't perform, then he's going to get so much stick. But, you know, he got the goal, and fair play to him. And I think, like I say, half an hour, I think we've done all right. But then you could see towards the end of the first half, like Stu said, there was like a switch, and it kind of just, you could see the wave after wave after wave of City just finding numerous pockets of space, especially De Bruyne. At points, he was just picking up space everywhere. Anything, he's their best player, and he's just running in behind Dalot. He's running in behind Lindelof. He's running in behind everybody pretty much. And you could kind of see for me there that like second half was going to be a very long second half.
Absolutely. Well, we've reached that moment in the show, boys and girls. If you want to go make a cup of tea, this might be the point to do it, but we shall see. It's Dan's opening salvo. And I'm going to throw it with you. Were shaking your head at me. But let me be clear. What I wasn't trying to say here was that it was not a performance in terms of visually and in enjoyability. But I did notice that one of your tweets was, "This isn't football, it's just hoofball." Now, I was away with Borough, so I can't claim to have watched every single minute of football that's happened this afternoon. But the goal that we scored was a direct ball, over the top, precision pass that Marcus Rashford gets hold of, and after Fernandes lays it off to him, and by God, it was a quality finish. And I tweeted, having seen that I stopped what I was doing. I stopped working And I literally went, no, I'm definitely treating that, because I'd said it before the game. I wanted him to have a good game on the back of his interview. And I'm delighted for him that he was able to come out and kick us off in that respect. Now, again, my understanding, the ball comes over. We have another opportunity from a direct sort of ball through. Rashford gets through. Kyle Walker with a tiny touch, but a foul nonetheless, it seems to be, from my eyes anyway. And as soon as he goes down, nothing given, despite the fact you get similar ones given during the game. And as a result, City then managed to come down the other end. And before you know it, Phil Foden scored what, to be fair, in fairness, was a good goal. The one I can't claim that it wasn't. So, yeah, defend your position, I suppose. Where's he gone? What's happened there? Who's Elgato? What is this? The Russians have got him.
I don't know what's happened here. Bear with me.
If I miss it, there he is. Welcome back.
I'm back. No. I'm back. There we go.
I thought it was going to go. That's it. I've given up. That's it. He was having a little Piers Morgan and walking off.
That's done. Right. It's going to be really weird to say, but the description of what you've just said about Onana and the ball, that's not hoofball. That is literally, that's a planned sequence that they would have practiced in training to break the lines, and they did it on occasions to do it. But for 83 minutes, there was hoofball in it, which is the ball was coming into the box and they were smashing it long, and then the ball was coming back into the box and they were smashing it long, and they were just hoping. There was no structure. After the first goal, what we did was act like FA Cup minnows for 83 minutes. We basically, when we scored now from an absolute world-class finish, and again, even though Rashford scored the goal, he didn't play well. It was a great finish, but did he have a big impact on the game? The answer is no, because no one's been allowed to have a big impact on the game going forward. Like we're saying, well, we blocked shots well, we headed well, we did clearances. Yeah, of course we did, because we were playing like FA Cup minnows. We were sticking 9 behind the ball, and then they was hitting crosses, shots. I find it quite interesting because City created more big chances in the first half than they did in the second. They looked better in the first half than they did the second. We just had Onana to thank for the Phil Foden save. Haaland, for some strange reason, decided to kick the ball over from 2 yards out.
Define a big chance, because I've got on my stats 3 clear-cut chances written down for City.
So City created 3 big clear-cut chances in the first half.
Clear-cut chances.
Yeah, and then 1 in the second.
Nothing to do with Barry.
Yeah. So according to the stats I've got up, we had 1 big chance in the first half. They had 3, and they had 1 big chance in the second half, and we didn't have any. And Rashford's doesn't go down as a big chance. So I don't know what our big chance was.
Yeah, as I said, that one at the back post, if he connected with it, was a real chance. And he didn't connect with it, made a balls up. I know which one you're talking about. Yes,
I bet that is the big chance. Yeah. So the goal, it's not a big chance. It was like 0.18 in terms of expected goals and that. So we didn't create anything really the entire game. We've been passed and played off the park the entire game, bar, I would say, 6 minutes before we scored, which we looked good. He looked like he had a plan. We was going to use the tactic of getting him behind. I get there's a couple of times where Rashford misheaded and Dan got it spot on. Garnacho could play a pass that doesn't come. But the mindset's weird for me. Like, I'm quite happy to accept that United aren't where they are 5 years ago. Bearing in mind, Solskjaer's never been beat at Etihad as well, going there constantly winning, getting draws. That suddenly it's acceptable to play League 2 football against Man City because it's at the Etihad. Like, I get we've got injuries and stuff, and obviously you can't, the amount of injuries we had and a lot of teams have had, you can't equate like the issues that would cause. But I just don't see that there is many positives to what we watched today in terms of you could play that game with those tactics 10 times and you're going to lose it 10 times. You're not going to beat Man City when you let them have all that position. It just wasn't a good performance. And Ten Hag, for me, his substitutions I am more than baffled with what I've seen today. So
before you go down the substitutes route, what would you do differently? Because I've got to be honest, I look at this and the way that City are, bearing in mind they've gone 18 points clear of us now, and they are fighting for the title, whereas we are fighting to just, not finish below Brighton. Seems to be the general gist that we're trying to aim to go for here. What would you do differently? Because with a defence that's decimated that you need to protect, because let's be honest, teams like Fulham are getting through. What are we going to do differently in your mind
this is where it's got to be. You've got to think about tactics. Are we better than Burnley? Are we better than Sheffield United? Are we better than, I don't know, Crystal Palace? Because they've all gone to the Etihad and had more shots on target than we've managed today. So we have literally managed one shot. We've sort of gone, some players are injured. These aren't good enough. So it's acceptable to play worse than Sheffield United. We've got a better team than Sheffield United, but they can go and have 5 shots at City's goal and make a bit of an effort of it. The difference is City weren't as ruthless today as against the other teams. They could have been. We could have been 3-1 down at half time, and then they could have gone on and scored more. It wasn't until we weren't really killed off until City decided we're going to kill you off, which with the second goal. And then how much of the possession did we have in the last 20 minutes? About 7%, something like that. They literally passed us off the pitch from second goal to third goal. And we got
all laid for about 5 minutes straight.
Yeah, just chasing shadows. And I do get it, and I get it must be difficult, but there's got to be something better than just sitting with. I watched his football in the Mourinho, and I've never seen anyone praise it like I've seen it praised today. That it was a good effort and all this. I just thought it was really poor. It was really poor from us, and it shows the distance between City and United at the minute. It's absolutely massive.
I can't buy into it, Dan. Like the difference between the Mourinho situation and this situation is the injuries. Like, I find it absolutely baffling that we have a go as much as we have. Go on, Stu. You've got something you want to say. Get it off your chest.
I get where where Dan's coming from. I do, but I didn't see that type of game at all. I didn't see just a hoofing game. I saw a bit more control in our play than what you're going on about, Dan. I get what I kind of understand what you're talking about the defenders and that not reaching our midfielders with an accurate pass, somewhat I touched on earlier. I get all of that, but once we did get it in midfield, our short game was very, very good. It was almost as clinical as City's short game. But what the difference between us and City is, City just run around like fucking kids, like children. Listen, mate, they're jacked up on something. I don't know what the fuck it is, but they are jacked up on something. Because Carl Walker, after 99 minutes or whatever it was, he's not even broken a sweat. It just doesn't happen in football. I can guarantee you now, it doesn't happen in football. Nobody's a robot. These guys aren't robots. I'm not saying we're unfit. What I'm saying is the disparity in the fitness is phenomenal. It really is. It's night and fucking day. But Guardiola's got form for this. He's got form at Barcelona. He's got form himself, and he's got form at Bayern Munich for it. Potential issues with whatever. And you could just see it. You can just see it. Look at Liverpool when Liverpool went toe-to-toe with him that season and he beat them by 1 point. Liverpool were as fit as City, and it's never been seen before, never been seen since. Just hasn't. And everybody was going about Klopp's inhalers, etc. What I was talking, exactly, Klopp's asthmatic players. What I was talking about, and Dan, I'm not disagreeing with you, mate. Let me be clear. I get your point. You know football inside out, mate. You all do on this panel, so it's not about anything. But I just saw it differently. I saw a different style of play from us for once, because Guardiola would have been, and you've got to admit, we all know this. Guardiola would have been expecting 4-3-3, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
100%. And we've gone in there with a 4-2-2-2 kind of system, and we've totally gone against the grain at the beginning to look at, and so Guardiola's looking around thinking, what the heck am I going to do here? Because he doesn't know how to handle it, because they just press and press and press. And that's why they look more dangerous than any other team in the Premier League, because they press like children, like fucking under eights. You know, you've coached football. All of you coach football. You coach the kids, and they fucking go around like sheep. City are the same. That's what they do. And Haaland doesn't do it so much, but Foden is like fucking bunnies. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Two things we should have done with him. He should have been in row fucking Z after 5 minutes. You know, Lindelof, bang, have that Foden. Let's see what you're going to do now, sunshine. The same with Dallo over at Silver, bang, have that. Now what you're going to do. Let's see what you're going to do. Let's see what you've got. Because Diaz puts it in, Rodri puts it in, Silver himself puts it in, Foden puts it in. They put it in on our players, and we don't do that. So when you allow teams to look like fucking, you know, and just chase you around the pitch, it looks better than what it actually is. Before anyone has a pop at me in the comments, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they are superior players to us. Let's be clear. Let's be clear about that. But we did something. And Andy's right, by the way. Players don't do that today. Correct. You're absolutely right, mate. I'm old school, by the way, fella. And that's what I do. And that's how I would handle Foden. I'd make no bones about it. I'd have pushed him in Rosette, and then I'd have begged him to come on, and I'd done it again if he kept coming.
It always reminds me of Grandad from Only Fools and Horses, like back in the war.
Yeah, probably. But I guess what I'm saying, Danny, I didn't see the kind of, you know, the route one that you would call it. I saw a bit more of a control. Sounds stupid, I know it does, but a worked on system for once.
No, I agree. I did see that in small space. There was obviously a plan they'd worked on.
Yes.
And we hit it probably 3 or 4 times where it could have benefited us. But what I mean, the disappointment for me comes from you go 1-0 up, and then the whole thing is then just bring everybody back, sit deep, and then hope for that one moment. I didn't see much control from our midfield. Thought again, Rodri come second half. In fact, probably
first half he didn't need to do it first half, did he?
It was about 35 minutes in. He pressed his little button on his leg and he turned into Superman, and he was just controlling the game. And from there, we were struggling.
Do you remember?
When I bring up Solskjaer?
Do you remember the James Bond film? Barry will tell me what it is. You know, you just said Rodri presses a little button. It's a horse racing one where they inject the horse with a horse's whip, a little button on his thing.
I'm thinking of Black Beauty at this point.
I think that's what Guardiola's done to Rodri. Right, press Rodri's button now. There you go.
Well, they've definitely got something. But when I compare him to the Solskjaer team, if you went through Solskjaer's team 1 for 11, this team's not far off that team. It's still got McTominay in it. There's Rashford still in it. There's a World Cup winner in Varane. There's Casemiro, who's got 15 million Champions Leagues. You've got Dallo, who's been quality this season. So if you've got an Arna who was in the Champions League final last season. So even with the injuries, if you compared the two teams, they're not that far away. But Solskjaer can go PE teacher, tactically inept, can't do anything for the sake of nothing, can not lose a game in the Etihad. But we've now accepted that he's got some injuries.
That's it. Beauty kill.
But a couple of things I noticed today was I could actually see a style of play that we were planning on doing. And even though it was, in my opinion, a really poor style, as in it wasn't easy on the eye and it was probably like a League One, League Two kind of standard, I thought, but that's probably like the first time this season I've actually seen us play, and I can see what we're trying to do. Like that's how bad it's been. Like
I don't disagree. I think that's a perfect analysis as well. By the way, you can literally see that they've worked on this through the training pitch. So what's he been doing for the last 6 months to leave the midfield open like that and then close it down like this against City in a way that we could have snatched something because we stayed in the game as long as possible. I get that was the idea, and let's be honest, it nearly worked. And I've got to agree with Stu. Me and Dan slightly disagreed on it, but I think for the world that Rashford's fouled. He's pulled him back. I saw a broadcast from America, and there's a back view, and you can see that he just steps across him, trips him as he's pulling him, and I was like, where's that replay? Why is that replay not come on? And Sky never showed it.
I haven't seen that replay.
Yeah. And I was just like, where is this replay gone? He's vanished in like I'd imagined it. But I don't blame VAR for that. I blame the referee because VAR is never going to overturn that decision because it's not high enough on the bar to overturn it. But the referee goes and gives 3-4 fouls afterwards that are so much softer. And to be honest, if we look at it, Walker's probably going to walk if he gives that foul because he's in as well. So
no, he's last man. Yeah.
So,
he didn't want to know. I agree.
He was basically, I will let VAR have a look, and then if it's wrong, it's wrong. Well, I completely take on board the point that it did look like we'd done something in training, and we're not in a great situation. I think he's being given too much leeway in terms of performance for the injuries. We're not Luton, we're not Sheffield United, we're not Burnley, we're not. Do you know what I mean? We're 3 points above West Ham. Our squad 1 to 11 is better than West Ham's, but we keep doing this square pegs round hole, and I don't know why. Like at this point, surely just promote a youth left back and see if you can handle it, because the season's going to shit with what we're doing now. So why not just give him a chance? At least it's a left back playing left back and not Victor Lindelof playing left back, who wasn't terrible, wasn't fantastic. But
to be honest, Dan, there is an argument, and I spoke about it 2 weeks ago. Stick Anthony back there. You got a left-footed player, and you got somebody who can. As an attacker, is somebody who should know what Foden's going to do.
I said Stu to go to a 5 at the back and play Dallo left back, Anthony right back, and just do something different. But I mean. It shows this is why I'm sat behind an Elgato camera and not on a sideline, because I asked him to do something different. He's done something different, and it's annoyed me. Do you know what I mean? So he's done exactly what I asked him to do.
I know it's annoyed you, and honestly, and I can see. But the thing is, though, Bart, for me, it's all right because I grew up playing that shit. We'd pass the goal, and then we'd be off. We'd be going wide, and the keeper's got 3 options: right back, left back. Go long. When we actually went long because City weren't expecting it and they pushed up, it was brilliant for us. Absolutely brilliant. We needed to do that in the second half, Dan, because they would have pushed back. They wouldn't have pushed up on us. They would have pushed back because they wouldn't have risked Rashford and Garnacho's. But we changed again. We came out and we fucking changed. So, and we're going back to this dicking about the back. To me today, I thought Johnny Evans was excellent. I mean, he couldn't run towards the end. I mean, he was done, wasn't he? I thought he was excellent. I thought Varane was solid. I thought Bruno had a tough game, but he did, he played decent. Mino, Casemiro played decent football. We were let down by Rashford. We were. You're talking about the issue with Walker. The biggest problem I've got with all of that anyway is he didn't get up and chase Walker. Walker didn't piss about. I
thought he was bullied. He was bullied by Walker today.
But Walker just turned around with the ball and fucked off. Walker didn't dick about and see what was going on, waiting for a whistle. He just got on with it. I mean, you get put down, you get back up, and you fucking stick it on Walker. Go and stick it on Walker. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, the thing with the Rashford foul, for me, I've only seen the one angle. So, it didn't look a foul to me. As in, it just looked soft, as if he just grabbed his shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a different angle, then I'd be interested.
Yeah. But I thought, a really good attacker, a really good striker, like say that was Harry Kane, he would have made that an obvious foul. Like he would have put his body in the way, he would have shielded the ball, and he would have went over in a fashion that would have made it like unavoidable to give the foul.
Well, that's
Whereas
what
I think Rashford went down, and it looked in real time, it looked soft. And it looked like the ref's even going, nah, that's not a foul. But logically, you're thinking, well, what's he going down for? Because he's in on goal, so what's he gone down for?
He got nothing left down in his legs. And if he had gone across him and he'd slowed his run down, Walker was coming that quick. Because if you remember, Walker was doing the old Amrabat, fucking neck back. Fucking just funny. Yeah, he was coming in. Rashford looks behind him, slows him down, bang, he's going to hit him. He is. He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Free. Now, people will say, you've just got to go and you've got to hit goal. But if you haven't got the legs, with somebody with Walker's back, this is what I don't get with footballers. Fucking brain. Nobody uses their brain anymore in football. I don't get it. It's one of those, and Rashford might look at it and think, I should have done that. But I'd have been shouting at him, slow down. Slow down.
Yeah.
You know, and you've got to. Sometimes in football, you've got to make your own luck. That's called making your own luck. That's called making the referee make a decision. That ref, I don't know, he was a bit dodgy for me, if I'm being honest today. I didn't like him. Didn't like his attitude. I didn't like his attitude. Well, I don't like refs anyway, period. But I didn't like his attitude. And somebody was saying in the chat, I don't know who it was, that whether he was sarcastic or not, but there was a lot of chumminess between some of the City players and him. There was something about him that didn't sit right for me at all. We got very little from him. I thought the De Bruyne free kick, although it was a shit free kick, I think his hair's got in his eyes on it. And he definitely needs, because he's gone back to fucking curtains. Anyway,
I need
I think
the referee lost me, and it was actually De Bruyne in the first half. We break and we're away, and De Bruyne just drags his man back, and it's a yellow card every single day of the week, and the referee just ran away, and I was like, what is going on? And someone's done a thread about this, and it's a really good thread. I'll try and find it and link it on my Twitter, and it's basically the speed in which Liverpool and Man City foul on the break in your half, not their half, is like 2.2 seconds. So you break and you're fouled instantly, and they very rarely get booked for it. And it's a massive advantage. So if you wait 4 seconds, you're more likely to get a booking. But because they're so close to you, they just drag you down. And then the referee will go, oh, you wasn't really on the break yet, so I'm not going to give the book, even though you're away if you get past De Bruyne. Do you know what I mean? And he was a little bit off today, the ref. He wasn't great.
Did you see when he was shaking his head as well when Onana went down injured? The referee was shaking his head in disgust at him, and I'm thinking they're not even hiding that they're like pissed off at us. Like they're not even hiding it.
I thought that was pretty cool by Onana. It's about the first time I've seen any kind of shithousery from him.
So we've had a few things come through on the comments. We'll throw a few of these up. I put this up a couple of times now, but this thing about City staying true to their ethos, we don't do that. I think part of the problem with that is we don't actually know what our ethos is under Ten Hag at the moment, which is indeed the problem. NT having a go at me about that view to kill, thinking we were looking at a way of topping Stew. That's not the case.
He's been trying for a bit, NT.
I mean, it's hard to tell who goes missing more, whether it's Shergar or Anthony Martial. But you probably get more out of Shergar, certainly this year anyway. It's interesting. Box saying it's not a foul, but in 2024 soft world of football, it should be a foul. I think it is. And I just find the language very, very interesting. Like United down to 10 if that was us.
He's right.
And I think he is right. When it was Casemiro, he'd be put in jail and all.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah, he'd have been and in jail. Yeah, he'd have been before the beat tomorrow. I'm
going to keep saying this. What stops Rashford busting a gut there is literally through in goal there. Walker was behind him. Now,
I think he was tired. I think he was tired. Seriously, I know
you're saying tired, but this is it. The language. I mean, I know that Dan's not trying to be rude when he says it, but the whole idea of Rashford should have made it obvious that it was a foul. A foul's a foul. We can't blame Rashford for the fact that a foul hasn't been given. That's totally on the referee. And Ten Hag has come out afterwards that he made obviously a couple of substitutions, which I know Dan's waiting to in the wings to shout about. Obviously, he brought Anthony on after 75 minutes, and he brought Evans off after 69 to give Willy Cambrala a go. And both of them again because they've got knocks. Now, my issue at this moment in time with this football club is absolutely with whatever's going on at training and whatever is happening with this medical department, because it's unreal. I've never known a season like it. I mean, I've been supporting United since 1987. I cannot think of a season we've had where we have been decimated as much as we have been this season. It has been atrocious. And here we are again, Rashford and Johnny Evans being added to the list as well. So, but again, people aren't mentioning that. People aren't mentioning the fact that, Rashford's fought on in the last couple of games with a bit of an injury and tried hard. But then equally, is that a thing, Stu, that Ten Hag should be doing? Is he putting Rashford in a situation that's unfair because he's expecting him to be able to pull something out of it? Or are we literally saying that a half-fit Marcus Rashford is better than a fully fit Amari Forson?
Yeah, look, I'm probably the wrong person to ask on that one because
Okay, Dan Bateman, what do you think about that?
I have and I would and have played injured because I mean, look, I bust my arm in a game and I played on for 25 minutes, unaware I broke it till somebody pointed out the bottom half of my arm was blue. And blood was dripping out of it. I just didn't feel it. I was in the, I was in the zone, so to speak. And I've been kicked up in the air and I've had my ankle stood on. And you sometimes you've got to get on with it. You're a professional sports athlete. And I don't know anything about the NFL or anything like that. I don't really watch it, but I've read and heard a lot of things that they do what they have to do to play because I appreciate the NFL's a little bit more specialist in terms of where they are positioning, but sometimes if you're carrying a knock, go out there and give everything for 60 minutes, 70, just like Johnny Evans did today. That's the type of play you want because I say all the time, and I genuinely mean it. When you're in that dressing room, you look around and you say, "Oh, Johnny, how's the knee, mate?" He says, "It's all right, but I've had an injection. I'm going to be all right. I can do 60. Brilliant. Great." Because you know that guy is going to go out there, he's going to fucking smash it for 60 minutes. And he did. He did. And there are some players then, I've got a bit of a cold. I can't play today. Oh, fuck off. Piss off. We're not interested in idiots like that. I'm not. That's sublime to the ridiculous. I really do. I get that. But it's all about who you can trust. Football is so much about who you can trust and who you actually want to go out on that pitch with you. Because if you're going to give 100% yourself, you want your mate to give 100% and X, Y, and Z to give 100%. If you've got somebody who's jotting around, and he comes alive for 2 or 3 minutes and wins you the game, you can kind of like cope with that just a little bit. If he does it every match, if he does it 1 in 7, you don't want him. He's got, and that's the difference. So there's another thing with injuries, though, fellas, and that is you have to take a lot of responsibility yourself as a man. You have to take that responsibility. Keep getting injured. Why? Don't know. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing when you go home? What kind of chair have you got? Are you lying flat on your back? What are you doing? Are you dicking about in your pool? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? There are certain players that are that elastic, and no, not even elastic, because elastic really shouldn't break, but plastic in terms of being able to snap. It's pathetic. So find a way. You remember this, Baz? Dan, you'll remember this. Sorry, Danfield, you may or may not. But Ryan Giggs, back in his youth, had massive issues with snapping his hamstrings because of his fucking Subaru Impreza. And it's attention to detail about what you do and how you deal with it. Michael Owen was the same. Michael Owen's career was ruined by snapped hamstrings, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't deal with it. Instead of actually reducing his pace, because he was at full pace all the time, he's just stretching everything. Instead of maybe reducing his pace and thinking about his game better, he might have had a prolonged career. This is what players don't consider anymore. They don't think about what's best for me. I know my body better than anyone else. I'm the one that gets up in the morning, and if I'm aching somewhere, I'm going to go into training early, and I'm going to go see the masseuse, or I'm going to go see the doctor, and, Giggs took up yoga, there you go. And I'm going to get it looked at, and then I'm going to go training. It's these types of things, but these morons don't. I'll turn up 10 minutes late for training. How can you turn up 10 minutes late for training? All you've got to do is get up in the morning. If you can't be trusted to get up and get to training on time, why should you be trusted in a game of football? And if you're up at till 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning playing fucking FIFA, it's your own fault. You have got to take that responsibility. And this is the problem. And absolutely, Twambala's, if I've got that right, Paul, I apologise if I butchered you. They don't have that mentality. He's fucking spot on. They don't. And that's why I hate modern football, modernism in football. I don't like modern day football. There's no balls anymore. There's no real cojones out there at the minute. And if we had 2 or 3 players that just showed that, maybe 2 or 3 Martinez. Dan, if we perhaps had Martinez back in today and we'd had Luke Shaw back in today, we might have had a more structured approach and maybe even got 2 goals in the first.
Well, one of them would have snapped Foden as well.
Oh, fucking 2, right.
Yeah,
Martinez would have. Martinez would have. Yeah. And then he would have picked the little fucker up and then dropped him again. Because that's what you do. and then ruffled his hair like he's an 8-year-old. That's what you do on the pitch, or used to do on the pitch. So I'm sorry I'm ranting on about injuries, but honestly, you've got to take a lot of the responsibility. Has got to come with you as a man, and we don't do it. Sorry,
you said best he mentioned it. I was going to say it, but obviously Stu was off on one, and you don't step in front of Stu when he's off on one like that. It's like stepping in front of a train. But yeah, absolutely that. The yoga side of it is big, and Ryan Giggs went on to have one of the longest careers of any modern footballer, to be fair. So, it is very much it's a responsibility thing. And, there's a few things again being mentioned in the chat. Box mentions the off-the-field problems as well haven't helped, along with Greenwood, Sancho and Anthony, and NT agreeing. It's one of those intangibles that plays a role that's possibly overlooked down. If not, it definitely has an effect on the team, and it has been just a very tricky sort of season. But what I will say is that for as poor as some of these things have been, Dan, what I find really interesting is I'm going to offer up a public retraction right about now, because months ago I stood here, still sat here. It might look like I'm standing. It's not. It's just a very tall chair. I sat here and I said, we need to get rid of Andre Onana because he has been absolutely atrocious. And I'll tell you what, since I said that the last time, he's pulled it back. He's come back from the Cup of Nations.
Different player.
Different player to the geezer.
Different player.
I can't fault him. Would you go along with that? I mean, 5 saves in a game against Man City. We talk about it could have been this, it could have been that. It could have been 8-1. It wasn't. And we've got Andre Onana to thank for that.
I couldn't agree more, honestly. I agreed with you, Barry, when you said it. I just thought he's rubbish. He's cost us games in the Champions League, and I just don't see how he turns this round. But he's come back from the AFCON, and he's focusing on trying to stop the ball actually going in the net rather than trying to pass the ball around like Paul Scholes and Pirlo. And he still does that, and he still does have his distribution, but he's also focusing on what he needs to focus on. And he's probably been one of our most consistent players with Dalot, to be fair, over the last month or two. So yeah, I'm having a public retraction as well at the moment.
100%. I mean, Fieldy boy, I know you probably agree with me based on the fact you were just nodding your head there, but what I will say is that he could have potentially done better on the second goal. I don't think he had anything he could have done about the first or the third. Does kind of go under his hand. But other than that, I think a pretty much faultless performance from Onana today.
Yeah, I thought he was the best player on the pitch. I actually thought Foden did him a little bit with the second goal, because it genuinely looked as if he was going to take a little bit more of a touch, and he didn't. He just sort of fired it, and so it caught him by surprise. But I thought his Premier League performances for Man United have been in the top 3 or 4 of the league in terms of shot prevention and goal prevention and stuff like that. He's been quite good. It was just his Champions League performance for us. They were so bad. It outweighed what he was doing in the league. But I'm wondering if maybe coming back from AFCON and the way he went there, he's regained a bit of focus, because that must have been a weird situation for him. He's loggerheads with his club and his country in terms of what was going off. He ended up going late. He then played the second game but was dropped for the following 2. So maybe just a bit of fresh mentality. Why is coming back for him? I just wanted to quickly touch on question for anybody that wants it. Garnacho's 19, and he started his 23rd game in a row today. That's too many, is it not? Do we not think that this is part of the problem? And I get that Ten Hag's not as trusting in his squad that maybe he should be. Like, you could rest Garnacho for Ahmad, but he doesn't seem to want to. I think Garnacho is suffering in his form, suffering a little bit in the last few weeks, because he's just playing too many games at the minute. He's still developing body-wise, and he's still got to look after himself. So surely we're going to have to, at some point, let him have a couple of games out, because this is where I'd imagine as a 19-year-old kid playing for Man United, you're a little bit naive. He's not going to want to admit that, I feel a little bit jaded. My legs are a bit tight. Can I have I need to sit out a game. He's going to want to play as many minutes as he possibly can, because he's playing for Manchester United. So do we need a bit more better management, not just Ten Hag, but the whole staff, to say, look, 23 games, 19, can we leave him out for a couple of weeks, give him a little bit of a break?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you look back at Garnacho in December, and he scored against Villa, he scored the overhead kick against Everton. Like the last few weeks, it's a totally different Garnacho, but he still tries and he's still working hard for the team. But you can tell that he's tired. He's getting brushed off the ball easily, and for me, it is a case of trying to manage him because he is young. It's a lot of pressure. Manu will be the same, and we talk about injuries and stuff. If Garnacho plays every game from now to the end of the season, what's stopping him getting a bad injury next season because he's played way too many games?
Dan, on the nail, mate, on the nail. And I'm going to cite a player which Mr. Fields has left out on purpose. I know he has, and that is our friend Rasmus Højlund. And he's a brilliant example to cite because he's a bigger man and he's picked up a muscle injury. It's a perfect question. It's the right question to ask. And absolutely 100%, you're all right. And I'm pretty sure Barry would have been singing on the same hymn sheet. Garnacho is a slighter boy. He's just developing. He's filling out. And you can get those little niggling injuries. You can do so. And the same with Malacia. I said to, was it a couple of weeks ago, Baz? We were talking about Martinez's injury. And I said that he came back way too quick because sometimes you get, What I was talking about, Dan, I don't think you're on, mate, but what I was talking about is Martinez's other leg was taking the strain of his injured leg, and sometimes what happens is you overcompensate on the non-injured part of your body, the non-injured appendage, and it can sometimes lead to muscle injuries on the opposite leg. And there's the issue that we'll have with Garnacho at some point, and potentially with Højlund, which is why they've taken him out of the equation. I'm sure he would have wanted to play today. You do get this. You get a bad ankle. What you'll find is in a week or two's time, if you've not been walking right, your calf will start to go sore. And then that'll go up your leg to your hammy. This is what happens with with injuries all the time. So you've got to actually just take that break. So I'm with you on that one. To be fair, I really am. I think it's a great question, Dan. And Georgie Best, good to see you in here, mate. Thanks for coming in. I think you're right. It was a great question to ask, mate. And you're right. I wholeheartedly agree with you on it. I really do.
It's interesting. You said, would I be singing off the same hymn sheet? And I have to put different hats on to answer this question.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Very different hats for me. The first hat that I would put on would be my teacher hat, I suppose, really. And the fact that, I think about the youth of today and looking after them. And with that, I'd agree with absolutely everything that's just been said. Of course, he needs to be looked after. Fergie didn't throw people in at that age, week in, week out, all the time. I would point out, though, they would still be playing one game a week, even if they were playing for the under-23s or the under-18s. The difference would be the level and the intensity that would be being played. So there's that. What I would say, though, with the other hat on, and that's more of I suppose it is just a fan hat, really, is that we all just use the word ourselves. It's trust. Players that you trust. And in an ideal world for Erik ten Hag, I think he would be looking at that squad and he would be saying, right, start of the season, I've got Rashford, can play out on the left. I've got Martial, can play out on the left. I've got Højlund in the middle. I've got Anthony. I've got Garnacho. Even with those five people, you'd be thinking room to rotate. The problem is Anthony has proven to be probably about as much use as a body shop voucher in WH Smith, to be honest. So he's not really done what he could do. Marcus Rashford hasn't been at the level that he's needed to be at. Anthony Martial spends more time down A&E than he does down Carrington. And as a result, you get all of those things. Then you take into account the fact that this is a man fighting for his life, because we're not known for being patient anymore. Long gone are the days where you can have 26 years and you'll be given the first 4 years of your tenure to win your first trophy and do well. They're gone. Those times don't exist anymore. The minute we sat David Moyes, we became Chelsea in terms of you've got a season, show us, or it's not going to work. and that's where we've gone to. And as a result of that, can I blame Eric Ten Hag for sitting there and trusting someone like Garnacho, who will give his all and will work hard regardless and follow instructions and do all of the things that he needs to do? I can't have a go at him. So I'm stuck down 2 bits because Garnacho's career shortened, but equally, I don't know what else Ten Hag is supposed to do, because if he puts it out, he just gets battered.
Could I point out, though, and hugely valid points, but if our dickhead number 11 wouldn't been such a dickhead, and that fucking clown Sancho wasn't such a baby, then we've got these 2 bodies that would have, given these players a rest. So again, exactly right. Your points are 100% valid. Has he got any choice but to play Garnacho at the moment? Probably not. No, he probably hasn't. Same with Mino. Has he got any real choice? No, he hasn't. He hasn't got any choice because of the way the squad and these fucking idiots have gone, haywire, whatever you want to call it. Look, it's a tough one. It really is, but yeah. Anyway, won't be able to use a Body Shop voucher in W8 Smiths because aren't they closing most of their stores now?
Pretty much, yes. So it's part of the reason why I used it. NC, on the other hand, has obviously been spending some time in some pretty wild nighttime spots.
Yeah.
He was thinking of something entirely different. It's just really understandable. And Georgie, that's an absolute honour hearing that coming from you, young man. It's what we try and do here. We don't just try and go in on one direction. We do try and look at both of them. So, that's what it's all about. It's not just about shouting. Right, let's take a quick look at some of the things that I've starred here. Great performance from Onana. I'm just going to unstar that now. That was what brought that off. I'm going to go to Box's quick question here. Pure was not a question, but Dan, I think you was the one who starred this. Do you want to lead us off into why you did that about 55 minutes ago?
Because he's spot on, and it's massively concerning because literally Evans came off and the wheels came off. Where are all the senior players? Because they was all still on the pitch. So why is Evans so integral? And he has been a lot this season in terms of not necessarily the performance, but holding people in position, talking, letting people know what they're supposed to be doing. Why is it being left to Johnny Evans to do that at Manchester United in 2024? We've got Casemiro, Varane, Fernandes. Even Dallo should be putting his big boy pants on now and directing the play a little bit. I just think it was such a perfect point. Evans were fantastic today in terms of, I don't always expect him to be a 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, but in terms of talking to the players, telling them where they should be, instructing, making sure people aren't out of position, he was nailed on. He was a proper leader on the pitch today, and he deserved loads of credit. The fact that he's come back to United and he's played like he has in the games he's played, I'm so impressed with him. I think if he does decide to hang up his boots, I think he should probably stay in a coaching capacity and maybe try and teach this to some of the players. Open your mouth and speak, because we're lacking it at the club at the minute. We need some more people like Johnny Evans.
I kind of think it'd be interesting if we could get Johnny Evans, if he does retire, to work on MUTV, because his missus, I think,
does
on MUTV as well, and they could become like the Richard and Judy of MUTV. It'd be quite exciting. Go on, Dan. I interrupted. So what were you
No, it's all right. I was just going to say, I even noticed in Varane that when Evans went off, Varane didn't look as assured. Varane was kind of hoofing the ball, he looked a little bit more composed when Evans was next to him. But when Evans come off and he brought the young lad on, Varane was kind of hoofing the ball and just swiping it clear rather than trying to be the calm one. And I wonder if he just really enjoys playing with Evans and they complement each other quite well.
Yeah, you've got you're both right, really. Johnny Evans is there for his leadership qualities. As a young centre half or a young defender or a young player, how can you not fail to be inspired by the Johnny Evans story? Discarded, sent away, off to Leicester, off to Everton, back at the club that he loves and playing What will he do? What will he do, Dan? You got the stats. 25, 26 matches this season, maybe more.
I've not checked. I can check.
Yeah, because he's done that, and centre half partnerships are all about natural synergy, and it's a natural synergy. It's not something you have to work on. It's a natural synergy. You look across, you know where each other's are. You can predict each other's moves and space. It's always dangerous, Dan, as you were saying, when Varane's looking around and thinking, "Oh shit." Victor's alongside me. We've got a rookie. We've got a rookie left back in Willie Kwabala, who's going to be a really good talent, but he's a centre half. He should have gone into the middle of the park and played with Varane. But of course, Ten Hag will be thinking, well, he's not going to be able to cope with Haaland. Fuck it, just go in there and give it a go, mate. Give yourself a go. Test yourself. One of the best things in football is testing yourself. When I was coming through, I used to attach myself to the biggest, tallest, strongest player so I could try and get the better of him. It didn't always work, but that's what I would try and do. I would test myself. And, when you learn such a lot from these types of players, the way they hold the ball up, their movements, everything about them. And, Kwabala could do that. He look across at Johnny Evans and see where he's positioned himself. See how many steps he takes when we're out of possession. See what he does. See who he's talking to. See who he's trying to, get into the, certain areas. Can't be overstated.
23 is the answer. 23 appearances this season.
I said 26. I was close. For a 35-year-old who actually knocked on Ten Hag's door and said, "Can I just come and train with you?" For Ten Hag to say, "Sign it, mate."
Who'd have thought he'd have probably been one of the best signings we made in the summer.
It gobsmacked me. I genuinely did not think he was going to come in and play the role that he has, but fair play to him. It shows that Ten Hag's eye can't be completely off, which is good. Tottenham was saying we're in a rebuild and moving forward. He's not the final stop. We need to move on from him. He ain't it. Even these players need to go. So maybe Johnny Evans and Tom Huddleston will all have left. That'd be a moment, wouldn't it? He did have a question though, which I'm going to throw to you lot because that's what we do here. If people are that interested, so it's just a quick one. I'll give you all 30 seconds to prepare your points and 30 seconds to throw them out there. Can you see what Ten Hag is trying to do or his style of play? Danny B.
No.
Nice and succinct. Well done. Dan Field.
No, not all. I've got a question I'd like to ask in terms of this subject once Stu's gone.
Lovely. All right. Well, we'll see what Stu's got to say and then we'll throw it back to you.
Do you know what? I won't go down my piece on this one because it gets me into trouble. So I'll just say no. But can I just point out though that whether you're Guardiola, Ten Hag, Klopp, any other manager, your style of play is always passing because that's what you have to do to get from A to B.
I've got to say, I've known Stu now quite a while, a couple of years probably, and I've never known him come out with the Wenger. That was a trip between Wenger and Mourinho. There wasn't. That was between. I didn't see it, and if I speak,
I didn't see it. I love the question and style of play because everybody's. It's a great question because everybody's got their things up. But let me ask you this, guys: when you're playing football at any level, when you go out on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Saturday or a Sunday, and you've been spoken to by the gaffer, blah blah blah, and you get on that pitch, what happens? It never goes according to plan. It just doesn't because the game just opens up and evolves differently. So that's the only thing I'd say to that. I get the question, I do, but it's a tough one, really, to answer.
It only takes a moment to change everything, like you say. Yeah, so
right, yeah.
There we go. Go on then, Dan. What was you gonna throw in on that then?
I just wanted to ask, hopefully we stay in the FA Cup and we go as far as we can in that. With the state of the season it is at the minute, at what point would you get to the point where you just get rid of the players that aren't going to be there next year and start the players that you actually are going to be playing going forward? Because surely we at that point in the Premier League we can put a youth player at left back because Amrabat's not going to be there next year. Lindelof could possibly not be there next year. Like, at what point do you say, right, this season's done, we need to look at next season? Because I would back Ten Hag to the hilt if he was, do you know what? The season's done. This is what we're going to do. And then this is how we're going to do it, because these senior players aren't doing what I'm asking them to do. I genuinely think that some of these players are being asked to do something in training on the pitch and they're not following the instructions. So at what point do we basically say to them, enough's enough, you're not going to play anymore because you're going to be going in the summer?
So, in return to that one, let me do my very best, Andy Murray, and return this one back to you.
Here we go.
Because on the one hand, we've just sat there and spoken about Garnacho and the fact that we can't stick everything on to him at the age of 19. But also, is there a possibility, bearing in mind we don't get the chance to see it, that he's choosing to put Amrabat and Lindelof? Because even though we think out of the first team, we know they're not left backs, we know they're not very good in that position, but that even at the level they're at, they're better than the young players that we've got now.
Well, that would be absolutely devastating to our famous academy.
I mean, it would be devastating,
Yeah.
but what if that's the case? Could that be it?
Reverse.
I would hope not.
I would hope not, Baz. And I would say we've got a very good left back in young Amas, I think it's AMAAS or AMASS, something like that.
Yes, he's amassing a lot of support.
He's a very, very, very competent footballer, and we got a brilliant under-21s team, or under-23s, whatever it is now. I'm completely confused. And we've got a great under-18s. Where we're struggling, where all young players are struggling, is don't have the benefit. And this is kind of an answer to you, Dan, but not an answer really. But they don't have the benefit of reserve football anymore. Ever since reserve team football was gone, you couldn't learn to play with Casemiro coming back from injury. You couldn't learn to play with Varane coming back from injury, Martial back to injury, because there's no more reserve. With reserve team football, he is 16, absolutely, bath time. He's a young lad, but he's a very, very good footballer. With reserve team football, it enabled you to learn your trade. Absolutely learn your trade against big, strapping blokes. We all watch the under-23s and we all watch the under-18s on MUTV or whatever, YouTube, wherever you decide to consume your junior football now. And they're still boys. They're still very young. They're still not big enough. They're not strapping. There's no Wayne Rooney type player. They're Phil Foden-esque, like he's not really a strapping lad, is he, at all? So I'm kind of with Dan. There's two things should be happening right now. Is that we should be doing our due diligence and approaching agents on who we want. And then we should be telling the agents of the players that we don't want, you're gone. There's no negotiation at all. You are out the door. And there's loads of stories, guys, and we've all heard them, where Sir Alex Ferguson has called a player either to his office or he's gone to the golf course, and they've got in the car or they've got in his office and they said, we sold you. We've accepted the bid, we sold you. And their players, what? We sold you. See you. Bye. Get out. You're gone. That's how it should be. You can't do that today with the latest, with all the way that agents are. Baz, you work a lot, don't you, with Stevenage Borough? And you know what it's like, even at your level, agents, that everyone's got a fucking agent at the moment. They can't think for themselves, these players, anymore. It's all going to be agents. So, as Georgie Best said, Sir Jim and the team, whoever the team is, because we've only had Bereda confirmed, haven't we? But we know Dan Ashworth's coming, and we pretty much know Jason Wilcox presumably is coming. Those guys have got from today, tomorrow, last week, the week before, to get everything in order. So players are coming through the door first week in July when we go back to pre-season, because you can't dick about anymore. Those days are gone. Those days are over. You hear from April, May, Liverpool signing players. He's coming through the door 1st of July. City doing it. City signed someone in January, ready for July.
Yeah, the guy from France.
Yeah, sent him off on loan somewhere, aren't they? But,
he's in Spain.
Yeah, and they've got that. They are doing this due diligence and they're signing these players. We know that we've got to get rid of, 12 at least. We know that. Everybody knows that. But you can't replace 12, though. That's the problem. So you're then got to start looking at your academy. You've got to start looking at youth. And as Bath Times said, is a 16-year-old like good enough? But Louis Smiley came out of nowhere, didn't he? 17. Liverpool had a debutant at 16, scored twice, didn't he? In midweek. So why not?
But this is what I mean when I say about giving these players a chance. I'm not necessarily saying you then start them every single game. I'm saying you bring them into the first team fold, you give one of them a chance in one game, another chance in another game, and you build for next season. This is sort of what Arteta did midway through with Saka, with Smith Rowe, with Martinelli, and he
got castigated for it, didn't he?
But this is what I mean. But I would much prefer to be watching that happening than what I'm seeing now, which is a bit more difficult to watch.
Yeah, well, I think as well, considering we don't have a fit left back, we don't have a fit striker, what would the harm have been of bringing in a left back youngster and a striker who's a youngster? Like, they might not be good enough, they might be good enough, we never know. We could uncover a gem, but instead we're playing Rashford through the middle, who's not a striker, like out-and-out striker.
He's ineffective through the middle as well.
We're playing Lindelof at left back, who he struggles playing in his actual position, never mind playing in at left back. Amrabat at left back, poor as well. For me, there's no harm in it. I don't see why that, especially top four's gone now. So we've got I think we've got some, I don't want to jinx it and say winnable games, but we've got Everton at home, Sheffield United at home, games like that where you can maybe bring them on for 10 minutes at the end, give them a bit of a taster and just try and see how they perform. You might uncover a gem in there.
Yeah, you see, Dan's Fields made a good point about Arteta. I think it's a great example because Smith Rowe doesn't get in the team at the minute, but he'd walk into Manchester United starting 11. Right now he's a 10. He'd walk in completely.
Excellent player.
But look what he did. I'm not too convinced at Ramsdale, so I'm going to go and get fucking Raya.
And he got slated for that as well with the goalkeeping thing.
You've got 2 number 1s there. But Arteta said, stuff it, I'm doing it. I'm doing what's best for Arsenal Football Club. Not what's best for Raya and not what's best for Ramsdale. Ramsdale's been in 2-3 times this season. It's been absolutely superb for Arsenal. And Ray has been, let's face it, Onana-esque to an extent. Talking of which, just one thing I do want to touch on Onana because I never got to chat about Onana. So I blame Baz for that. And that is very, very briefly, we talk about character, don't we, all the time? You've got to admit that guy's got fucking character. That guy's got character.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a big man, isn't it? That's a whatever. I'd just bounce off me.
Even after, he made his mistake, was it against Bayern or Galatasaray? And he come out and done an interview afterwards. So even when he was making mistakes, he was doing things, and you're like, what, fair play. There's not many players that will come out and, say it's my fault to hold my hands up, all that kind of stuff. So he's definitely got character, and he's definitely a brave man.
We need to have that type of,
definitely.
Even Maguire.
By the way, this is you spot on here, Stu, because this is where I think there's a little bit of an issue at the club. Some fans want certain players back in, and they've not got the right mentality for the club. Maguire's got the right mentality for Manchester United because he's proved it. Onana's the same sort of player. You've got Fernandes who he can chuck his toys out the plan, but his mentality's there to win. He wants to win. And these other players that Johnny Evans has got mentality to play. Sometimes the players that maybe haven't got the mentality get more backing for some reason because I don't know why. It's just a strange one, but
they might beat 3 players in a match or something. I think
it's they're better on FIFA. Yeah, it's because basically. But I genuinely think that we need some more mentality monsters in the changing room than what we've got now, and I think that's just as big of an issue as giving the youth a chance. We need to get players in, and I say this to Barry all the time, and he always laughs at me. We needed when we could have signed McGinn from Aston Villa, we should have signed him. He's an absolute shithouse, but he's a proper midfielder. He gets about. He'll kick you. He'll do whatever it takes to win. And
he's a leader as well, McGinn.
Well, you need that to pass on to the other players as well. I used to love Ashley Young. Wasn't the best player in the world, but he's an absolute shithouse. And it was just sometimes you need that. You need that little bit of fire. Like, I think Robertson is one of the best players that the Premier League's had in ages, and he's exactly the same. He would literally stamp on you while I was on the floor and then help you up.
I'll tell you what,
it's the mentality.
You'd have my name on the back of your shirt then, pal, because that's me all over.
Oh, I love it. You've got to have it. You've got to have that mentality to succeed, and we lack it.
Yeah. And yeah, that's me all over. That is. You come and watch the mighty Tipton Town. You'll see us in there. The mighty.
Every there's always a mighty Tipton Town in there. He does well. It's a good plug.
Over 50s. The mighty Tipton Town. Come on, boys. Come on. Looking back.
Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. That would be absolutely marvelous. Well, there's lots going on. So that's pretty much it. To be honest with you, I think we've pretty much done the game to death. But I do just want to say, because I like an interesting stat, and I've saved this one till the end because there was lots of fanfare about Bruno Fernandes getting his 150th Premier League appearance for us, which, to be fair, is a pretty good return when you consider he's only been with us for just about 4 years. But it was actually his 221st appearance today for Manchester United. And what I find particularly interesting about this, he's now in the top 100 appearance makers. There was somebody else who made their 221st appearance for Manchester United today, and that was Johnny Evans. And I just find that absolutely amazing that Johnny Evans, who started all those years ago, has had the opportunity to come back and is now on the exact same number of appearances as Bruno Fernandes, although Bruno does have just the 64 more goals than Sir Johnny Evans. But
it's amazing, that, isn't it, Johnny Evans? It's a fucking terrific story.
It is. It genuinely is. Like I say, consider he was here 2007 to 2015, and now here he is still racking them up. And they're only 8 behind the mighty Phil Jones. So that record.
Oh, the mighty
Phil Jones, indeed. And then you start hitting the real legends like Gordon McQueen, and then it goes wrong again. And you end up with Nani, Lingard, and Pogba. But
sorry.
For another day.
Sorry, you're gonna have to put an asterisk by Pogba on your strike him out. He's a drugs cheater, isn't he?
He has, yeah, but there you go. That's to be honest.
We don't even have to say allegedly.
No, just going off the patch for a minute. Did another illustrious player of ours, John O'Shea, take control of Ireland recently? Did I?
Yeah,
interim was it?
Interim.
Yeah, I have read that. It was true that. How cool is that? I didn't know he was doing his badges or anything. So how cool is that?
He was Rooney's assistant at Birmingham, wasn't he? Before Rooney got the sack.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well, we don't delve in the realms of the Championship on here, do we?
I mean, he wasn't there long.
Yes, he has box. Yeah,
Lingard has gone to Seoul FC. He sold his, and his Phil Jones. I wasn't taking the mickey when I called him mighty Phil Jones. I had a lot of love for Phil Jones, and I think that game where he came back at Old Trafford and was given the opportunity to play was rightly emotional. You could write a TV show about that or a film, the way that he was dealt with. And again, it just comes back to the way that some people choose to treat our players. And I think for me, is that I'm going to end it with the same thing that I used to say over on the women's channel, which is that at the end of the day, we're all supporters of the club. And the key word in the word supporters is to support. The difference for me between a supporter and a fan, supporter supports and a fan is fanatical, and they end up getting, a little bit too aggressive sometimes. Go on, Stu, what are you going to point out?
Can I just ask, did Mary Earps play in goal today, or was it a waxwork?
Well, I think the waxwork would have done just as well by the sounds of things. But if you want to hear more about that, join us on WSD tomorrow night, where we shall dissect all the joys of West Ham 1, Manchester United 1. 50th WSL goal for Rachel Williams in that one. But yes, it's not a result that we can be particularly proud of. So we shall see.
West Ham goal was good, wasn't it?
Say again?
The West Ham goal was a lob, wasn't it?
So I hear.
Yeah. Oh, you've not seen it? Sorry, mate. Sorry.
I haven't seen them yet, and I haven't seen anything. Like I say, I was in Billericay watching the mighty Stevenage development side in the quarter-final of the league play, where we won 3-2. So, mighty Stevenage. I'll just throw mighty in front of everything. I can throw it in front of Tipton Town over 50s. I feel like we can definitely throw it in front of Stevenage, FCW and Phil Jones.
My son calls us the Tipton Terriers, by the way.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I just got visions now of like little Yorkshire Terriers just running about all over the show. Like the old painting, the dogs playing cards.
Where's the ball gone?
Oh, hello. Look who's popped up. He's here.
Oh, God.
Unbelievable. Well, there we go. It is going to be so much fun. I can barely wait, to be honest with you. So, yes, tomorrow night, if you're about, do feel free to join us on our sister channel, Wolf United WFC. That'll be at 7 o'clock, and the quiff will be there too. And then after that, 8:30, we're off to WOFO. So, good lot of women's chat on the All 4 brands tomorrow evening. We'll be back. I think we're planning on Saturday, so the chances are that we'll be back on Thursday. That's the plan. And unless Dan says so, there might be another thing before that if he feels like he's got more to get off of his chest. And let's be honest, that's very much the sort of thing that Dan would do. NT saying, all hell the quiff, and absolutely we do. Stu, lovely to have you back on the channel. Thank you so much for joining us with your insight.
Pleasure.
Danny B, of course, lovely to have you there as well. And
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. Do you want to put your usual shout out?
Yeah, can do. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube and Spotify. Be the best version of yourself. It's a podcast where I discuss my gambling addiction, my battles with my epilepsy and mental health, and just advocating for sensitive subjects and trying to end the stigma around them.
How's the YouTube channel going now? I know you only kicked that off recently.
Yeah, we've been on there about a week, 2 weeks now, and we've had maybe like 250 views. So it's not too bad. Not too bad. Could be better.
How long does the show last on your YouTube channel roughly?
We're about an hour.
About an hour. Okay.
Yeah.
So similar to what we should be, but we always end up going over because let's be honest, you can always switch off if you don't like it. That's very much how we tend to roll on these things. But if you did like it, click the thumbs up because we like that sort of thing around here. And Field, of course, thank you so much for rushing back after your little work sojourn. Lovely to have you with us too. Thank you in the comments. You've been awesome. Absolutely brilliant. Keep your eyes on all of our socials, whether that be TikTok, where you occasionally get to see me ranting like a madman asking you to come and watch us. We're going to see if we can throw some more stuff out there. I'm sure we can. But failing that, then get yourself onto Twitter so you can see when we are back. See you soon. Listen, it might have been a bit of a blue evening, but we won't let it ruin our week. See you tomorrow.